Your skull feels heavy. The air tastes like static. Most people think imagination is harmless. In your brain, it is not. You close your eyes, and the world does not go dark. It opens. What your brain does next is not normal. You have always felt it. That pull, that pressure behind your eyes. Like something is trying to push through. Other people describe silence when they close their eyes. A blank, a nothing. You do not get that. You get color. You get texture. You get entire cities you have never visited. You get faces of people who do not exist, speaking words you have never written yet. You thought everyone experienced this. You were wrong. Researchers gave people a test. Close your eyes. Picture an apple. Describe what you see. Most people saw a shape, a rough outline, a suggestion of red. You see the dent near the stem, the waxy shine on the skin, the shadow it casts on the surface beneath it. You almost feel the weight. That is not imagination. That is something else entirely. Science finally has a name for it. It is called hyperphantasia. It means your mind's eye is not a mind's eye. It is a mind's cinema. Running at full resolution every hour, whether you asked for it or not. Researchers place imagination on a spectrum. At one end, aphantasia, no imagery, no pictures, just concepts floating in darkness. At the other end, you, where imagery does not accompany thought. It replaces it. Only 2 to 3% of all humans sit where you sit. Your brain has stronger wiring between two specific regions. The frontal cortex. The visual cortex. Most people have a dirt path connecting those two regions. You have a 6-lane highway, no speed limit, no shutdown schedule. When your frontal cortex sends a signal, your visual cortex does not suggest, it renders. The same neurons that fire when your eyes are open fire identically when they are closed. Your brain does not know the difference between seeing and imagining, and that changes everything about who you are. Here is what happens inside your skull when you build a world. It starts with pressure, attention, an unresolved question with no answer yet. What if loyalty was lethal? What if memory was currency? What if the sky had layers? Your brain does not wait for logic. It does not draft an outline. It does not plan. It builds, immediately, involuntarily, with everything it has ever stored, every face you have ever seen, every grief you have buried, every texture of a place you passed through once and never forgot. Your brain assembles it into something that has never existed, a world, with its own physics, its own silence, its own way of ending. This process has a name too. Researchers call it episodic future thinking. Your brain simulates possible futures using the same neural architecture as real memory. You do not predict, you inhabit. You walk through futures before they happen. You grieve losses before they arrive. You meet characters before you write them. Nikola Tesla did this. He built machines entirely in his mind. Before touching a single tool, he ran full simulations. He stress-tested components. He identified failure points in engines that did not physically exist. His colleagues thought he was strange. He was not strange. He was running a render inside a brain built exactly like yours. He was not a genius despite his imagination. He was a genius because of it. But Nero is about to find the part nobody warns you about. The cinema never closes. That is not a metaphor. That is a neurological fact. The same highway that builds your worlds runs at 3 a.m. It runs during conversations. It runs when you are trying to feel nothing. And here is what makes it dangerous. Your brain cannot distinguish vividness from reality. When you imagine joy, your nervous system responds with joy. When you imagine threat, your nervous system responds with threat. A fight you imagined. A loss you have not lived yet. A version of yourself failing at something you have not tried. Your body absorbs all of it, as if it happened, as if it was real. Researchers found this. Nearly 40% of people with vivid imagery report significant damage to their closest relationships, not because they are unstable, Because they feel at a frequency other people cannot hear. They replay conversations for hours. They rewrite endings of things that have not ended. They pre-grieve, they pre-fail, they pre-lose, and no one around them understands why. Because from the outside, nothing happened. But inside your skull, you lived through it, all of it, in full resolution, with full weight, full color, full consequence. Nero sits with this. The cinema is still running. He did not choose the film. But this is not the end of what Nero discovers. There is a loop in your brain, the thalamocortical loop. It connects your thalamus, the brain's relay station, directly to your cortex. In most brains, this loop filters. It decides what gets through. It keeps imagery dim on purpose, so perception stays dominant. Your loop does not filter that way. Imagery bleeds through. It saturates. It competes with reality for dominance. This is why William Blake did not use reference models when drawing historical figures. He waited until the figure appeared to him, fully formed, inside his mind. He would then sketch as if a real person sat in front of him. He once stopped mid-drawing. The figure had moved, changed posture, without his permission. He said out loud, "I cannot go on. It is gone. I must wait until it returns." That was not madness. That was your brain, on a different person, centuries ago. And what it means will reframe your entire life. You are not too sensitive. That phrase was never true. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is simulation capacity. Empathy is not a feeling. It is a cognitive process. It requires your brain to build another person's experience inside itself and run it. Your brain does this without being asked, without effort, without rest. This is why the stories you carry in your head feel true. Not because you invented them, because you survived them first, inside your mind, before they existed anywhere else. You have already been your villain. You have already stood at the edge of your story's collapse. You have already chosen what your character chooses, not on the page, in the dark, behind your eyes, at 3 a.m. alone. That is not a symptom. That is craft. And now Nero knows what all of it was for. You were not built to observe. You were built to construct. Every world you assembled when you were supposed to sleep, every character who interrupted your actual life to tell you something, every system of rules and grief and magic you organized without anyone asking you to, none of it was wasted. It was training. Your brain was learning the architecture of worlds, one simulation at a time. Researchers who study creative cognition found this. People with vivid imagery do not just think differently. They produce differently. They solve differently. They build things that do not look like anything that existed before. Because they are not copying. They are rendering originals. From a library only they have access to. Stored behind their eyes. Running without permission. Available on demand. And now you know what you are working with. A cortex with no off switch. A visual system that cannot stop rendering. A memory that stores everything in full color. Other people have ideas. You have worlds. And now you know why your life never felt quiet. If this felt familiar, you are not the only one living like this. Send this to someone who disappears into their own mind. They've been trying to explain it their whole life. Nero looks up. The cinema is still running, but now he is the one holding the reel.